wasn't always this paranoid. I used to be just like any other guy. Average. I'm Alex, a 30-year-old graphic designer from a small suburban town. Nothing special about me. I go to work, binge watch Netflix, hang out with friends when I can. Just like you, probably. If you're anything like me, you've probably gotten curious about those dark corners of the internet, the kind of places where you're told not to go. Well, I did too. It started innocently enough. You know, late night scrolling, hopping between Reddit threads and sketchy forums. Nothing too crazy. But there was one night, about 6 months ago, when things changed. I don't know why I clicked the link. Maybe it was the curiosity, or maybe it was the boredom. There was this message in a chat room on the dark web. Live torture session you'll never forget. It was probably the worst decision of my life. I clicked it, and that's when everything went wrong. The stream started off with a shaky camera, just a dimly lit room, almost like a basement. There was a person tied to a chair in the middle of the room, bloodied, bruised. They weren't moving, but you could hear them breathing, slow, labored. I could barely make out the details, but the fear in their eyes, it was real. They weren't acting. And then I heard the voice, a low whisper, followed by a cold laugh. My stomach twisted. I thought about clicking away, but I didn't. I couldn't. I don't know why, but I kept watching. It felt wrong, too real, like I was witnessing something that should never be seen. I started to feel sick, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. I wanted to close the tab, but it was like my hands were glued to the keyboard. I wanted to look away, but it felt like I was trapped. Then the figure appeared on screen, a masked man, wearing some kind of black cloak. I couldn't see his face, but I could hear his voice clearly as he approached the victim. He was talking, but I couldn't make out the words. And then it hit me. The way the victim's body twitched, it was more than just fear. They were in pain. Real pain. I tried to turn the stream off. I really did. But nothing happened. It didn't matter how many times I hit refresh or close the tab. It kept coming back, and it wasn't just the live stream. After that, I started getting weird messages, cryptic stuff. At first, I thought it was a joke. Then, they started talking about me. We know you watched. Don't try to hide. My heart dropped. The worst part, I couldn't stop watching. Every time I tried to shut it down, the feed would pop up again, like it was finding me. Every click, every attempt to escape, it just pulled me deeper in. And then came the call. I'll never forget it. I was sitting in my living room, scrolling through my phone, trying to ignore the dread that was building up. The screen lit up with an untraceable number. I thought it was a telemarketer, but something made me answer. When I picked up, there was nothing but static. Then a voice, like it was trying to be calm, but it wasn't. You've seen too much, it said. You're next. I froze. I swear I could feel the blood drain from my face. That voice. It was familiar, but I couldn't place it. It was like someone I knew, but it wasn't. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. Things started happening around my house. Doors that were locked were wide open. My stuff was out of place, like someone had been inside. And the messages kept coming. You thought it was over? It's just begun. I started hearing noises, soft at first, footsteps, scratching at the door in the middle of the night. But when I'd check, no one was there. At least, that's what I told myself. I tried to ignore it. I wanted to ignore it, but I couldn't. And then, one night, I saw something that made me wish I hadn't looked. The live stream had changed. This time, it wasn't just torture. The victim was screaming. pleading. But that wasn't the worst part. They were burning. The smell of it. I could almost smell it through the screen. The camera was zoomed in on their skin, the flesh blackening from the heat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to vomit. But I couldn't stop. The feed kept pulling me in. I wish I could go back. I wish I could close that tab. But now it's too late. Now I don't know what's real anymore. And that's why I'm here, telling you this. Because I don't know if I'm the one being watched, or if I'm the one watching. I wish I could say I've been imagining it all. I wish I could say it's just stress, too many late nights working from home, that I've been overreacting. But I'm not. And I can't keep pretending like everything is fine. The thing is, it got worse. Every time I tried to escape, it pulled me back in. The messages kept getting more specific. We know where you live. We see you. We're watching. At first, I thought it was just some sick game, a prank. But then it started feeling real. I didn't tell anyone. How could I? Who would believe me? Who would believe that someone out there, someone who knew everything about me, was toying with my life like I was some kind of game? The worst part? I realized they weren't just watching me. They were controlling my every move. I couldn't stop them. I started seeing things. The figure that haunted the stream. I saw him outside my window one night, just standing there in the dark, watching me. I couldn't make out his face, but I knew it was him. The same way you just know when something's off, when you feel the hair on your neck stand up, when you get that gut-wrenching sense that something is horribly, terribly wrong. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was just paranoid, but the more I tried to pretend nothing was happening, the worse it got. It came to a head one night, maybe about 2 weeks ago. I was home alone, sitting in my living room, trying to distract myself. I thought maybe I'd just go to bed, shut my eyes, and forget about everything. But when I picked up my phone, I saw that damn link again. The stream. You're not done yet. I clicked it. I don't know why. Maybe I was looking for answers, or maybe I just wanted it to stop. This time was different. The same dark room, the same screams, but the camera angle was different. It zoomed in, showing the victim in excruciating detail, their eyes wide with terror. But the worst part? The thing that made my stomach twist? The figure was holding a phone, and on that phone, I saw my face. My face, staring back at me from the screen. My heart stopped. I froze. I swear I could hear my pulse in my ears. Then, the screen blinked, and for just a moment, the victim's face changed. It wasn't a stranger anymore. It was someone I recognized, someone I had known. My childhood friend, Jason. I couldn't breathe. I felt sick. Jason had disappeared years ago. No one knew what happened to him. He just vanished without a trace. But now I was seeing him, tied up, tortured, screaming in front of me like it was nothing. I couldn't look away. I couldn't move. It was like I was frozen in place, trapped in this nightmare that I couldn't escape from. I tried to reach for my phone to shut it off, but my hands wouldn't work. I was shaking, and no matter how many times I hit the button to exit the stream, it wouldn't go away. The figure on the screen turned towards the camera. He was smiling, and that's when I saw it. The mask. It wasn't just any mask. It was a face I recognized. My heart dropped. I couldn't breathe. It was Jason's face. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know if I'm losing my mind or if something even worse is happening. But the more I stared at the screen, the more I realized it wasn't just a stream. This wasn't some random feed. They weren't just torturing people for fun. They were targeting me. And they had been for a long time. That's when the call came. I saw the number on my phone. Untraceable. That same distorted voice. "This is your fault," it said. "We've been waiting. Jason was just the beginning." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't stop shaking. I couldn't think. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. Was Jason alive? Was he part of this? "Turn around," the voice said. I didn't. I couldn't. But I heard something. A sound behind me. Faint at first, but growing louder. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate steps. The door to my apartment was locked. The blinds were shut. But somehow, they were already inside. I didn't even look. I couldn't bring myself to. But I heard the floor creak as the figure stepped closer, the sound of breath behind me. And that's when I knew. They were here. And the worst part? I'm not even sure if I'm talking to you right now. You might be watching me too. I don't know how long I sat there, frozen in my chair, waiting for something to happen. The footsteps behind me kept getting closer. My heart was pounding in my chest, too loud in my ears, like it was about to explode. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I just kept thinking, please, let this be a dream. Please, let me wake up. But it wasn't a dream. The sound of the footsteps stopped. Then a voice, a low whisper just behind me. You shouldn't have looked. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My body wouldn't move. My hands were shaking so violently I thought they might fall off. The air in the room was heavy, like it was suffocating me. The only sound I could hear was the faint hum of the stream still playing on my laptop, the image of Jason's tortured face frozen on the screen. I could still hear his screams, muffled but real. But the worst part was the silence that followed. It was like the whole room was waiting for something. And then I heard it, the click of a button. It was my laptop. The screen flickered and a new window popped up. I didn't have to look to know what it was. I knew. I could feel it in my bones. The live stream was on again. The figure behind me spoke again, a soft chuckle in their voice. You really thought it was over, didn't you? I couldn't stop myself from turning around. I had to see, even if I didn't want to. My eyes were wide with terror, and there he was, the figure. He was standing in the doorway, barely visible in the shadows. I could see the outline of his face now, but it wasn't a face I recognized, not in the way I thought I would. It wasn't Jason's face, but something wrong. It was like looking at a mask that had been carved from real flesh, every detail too perfect, too familiar. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but my body was still frozen, like it had been paralyzed. I couldn't even reach for my phone to call for help. You shouldn't have seen it, he said, his voice echoing like it came from all directions at once. Jason was just the start. You're in this now. No turning back. I could feel the panic rising in my chest, choking me. What do you want from me? I barely managed to whisper. The words felt foreign, as if they were coming from someone else, not me. The figure didn't answer. He just stood there, watching me, as if he could see every single thought running through my mind. Then he slowly reached into his pocket and pulled something out. It was a phone, a black, cracked phone, and then I saw it, my face, staring back at me from the screen. My eyes widened in horror as I realized it was a live feed of me. He was watching me. He had been watching me this whole time, but it wasn't just watching. He was controlling everything, every movement, every thought. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The room felt like it was closing in on me, like the walls were coming down, suffocating me. I tried to get up, to run, but my legs wouldn't move. My body wouldn't respond. And then I heard it, that unmistakable voice, coming from the phone in his hand. You're next, Alex. I felt my blood run cold. What do you want from me? I screamed this time, my voice cracking, my panic spilling over. I was begging now, pleading with him. Why me? What did I do? The figure finally stepped into the light. He wasn't wearing a mask anymore. The face, it was so familiar. It was Jason. But it wasn't. Not really. His face was twisted, his eyes empty, like something had hollowed him out. His smile was wrong, too wide, too eager. Don't you get it, Alex? Jason's voice was hoarse, barely recognizable. You were always part of the show. It was never random. You were always meant to watch. Now you're in it. We've been waiting for you. And that's when I realized the truth. The twisted, awful truth. Jason wasn't just a victim. He was part of it. He had been a part of the feed, a part of the game. But now, it wasn't just him anymore. It was me too. I was trapped in their game, in their world. The screen on the laptop flickered again, and the feed switched. I was staring at the same room I was in now, the one I was sitting in. The walls were closing in on me, and I could see the figure standing behind me, watching me on the screen. It was like I wasn't even in control of my own body anymore. The figure on the phone smirked, as if he knew exactly what I was thinking. And then it hit me. The feed wasn't just watching me, it was controlling me. I wasn't just part of the audience anymore. I was part of the show. Welcome to the game, Alex. Jason's voice was soft now, but the malice was still there, and I could hear the crackle of static as the screen went black. I don't know how long I've been sitting here telling you this. Maybe I've already lost my mind. Or maybe they're watching us right now. But one thing's for sure. I can't escape. There's no turning back. And I'm sorry. But neither can you. I don't know how much time has passed since I last spoke, but I can feel it now. Like the air is getting heavier. Like something is closing in on me. The room feels smaller, even though I'm still sitting here, talking to you. I wish I could say this is some kind of twisted dream, but the truth is, I don't know if I'm awake anymore. Or maybe, this is the dream, the nightmare I can't escape. You're probably wondering why I haven't just run, right? Why haven't I tried to get help? Well, you don't get it. I tried. I've tried everything. But every time I think I can break free, something pulls me back in. I thought the worst was over when the screen went black, but it wasn't. No, the worst was yet to come. I don't even know how it happened. One minute, I was sitting here trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and the next, the screen flickered to life again. But this time, it wasn't my laptop anymore. It was my front door, the one, I swear, I locked. The camera was outside, showing my apartment complex, zooming in on my front door. The door I hadn't opened in hours. But there it was, wide open. My heart stopped. My breath hitched. I didn't dare move, didn't dare even blink. I kept my eyes glued to the screen, like if I looked away, I'd lose track of everything. And then I saw it, a figure, walking slowly toward the door. I don't know how, but I could feel it. I could feel them watching me. They were here. They were outside my door, and they knew I was watching them. I wanted to get up, to grab something, anything, and defend myself, but my legs wouldn't move. My body was paralyzed again, just like before. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was trapped. Trapped in this nightmare, in this feed that never stopped. The figure at my door didn't knock. They didn't need to. The door swung open, like it was expecting them, and they stepped inside. I couldn't see their face, but I could hear them. The same soft, deliberate footsteps, the same unsettling presence that had been haunting me for days. I wanted to hide. I wanted to disappear. but there was no hiding. The screen zoomed in on my living room, and the figure was standing in my doorway, staring at me. I could hear the slow creak of the floorboards beneath their feet, and then nothing. The figure didn't move. It just stood there. And then I heard it. The same voice that had been haunting me for days. The distorted voice that had threatened me, manipulated me. "You think you can escape, Alex?" it said. "You were always part of this. You're just another player in the game." I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. My mind was screaming, but nothing came out. I was frozen in place, my eyes glued to the screen. The figure stepped forward, into the room. The screen followed every movement, as if it were a camera, tracking its every step. And then, it turned toward me. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until it left me in a rush. I could see them now, clearly. Their face, twisted in a grotesque smile. A face I knew. It was me. Not a reflection, not some distorted image. It was me. But it wasn't. It was a version of me, hollowed out, soulless, eyes wide open, staring at me through the screen. I could feel the chill run through me. It was like I was staring at myself from the outside, as if I were already dead. And then I heard it again. The voice, but this time it was clear. Too clear. "This is where it ends, Alex. This is where it begins. You're part of the show now. You always have been." The screen flickered and then went black. For a second, I thought it was over, that I had somehow escaped. But when the screen came back to life, it wasn't my apartment anymore. It was a hospital room. The figure was gone. But I knew. I knew what was happening. The hospital room was familiar. I had been there once, years ago, after an accident. But that was before I knew the truth. The bed in the room was empty. The same figure appeared again, only this time, it was standing at the foot of the bed. The one with my face. The one that looked like me, but wasn't me. The one that was watching me. And then, it clicked. This wasn't just a game. It was a trap. A never-ending loop. Every time I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Every time I thought I'd escaped, I was just watching myself get dragged back into this world, this twisted nightmare that never ends. And now, I'm telling you this, to warn you, to tell you that it's not just me anymore, it's you. You've been watching me this whole time, haven't you? You've been part of the game from the beginning, and now, it's your turn. The screen flickers again, and I hear the voice one last time, louder, clearer than ever before. "Welcome to the show.